Okay, good morning, everyone. So, today I will be talking about how coming out impacts our relationships. So, this is all about how the act of accepting that we are gay can have broader consequences and challenges for our society. And yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with motivational speaker Tyson Michael about this. So, it's going to be a very good chat about unique experiences, challenges, and also how it can impact friends, family, and lovers. So this will be a good conversation. Now I just got to wait for everyone to slowly pop in, but I'm looking forward to getting this show on the road. Hope everyone's having a good start to their day as well. It's been a good way to do things around here at the moment, just because it's getting a bit more sunny. John, lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining. Just got to wait for Tyson to pop on and then we'll get this all started. While this is happening, I'm going to see if I can edit this. Alrighty, Tyson, let's do this. Very excited to have you on board.
Oh,
Tyson, thank you very
yes.
much for joining me today. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm good. Trying to turn on this light so I can. There you go. I'm
There we
good.
go. How's everything going for you on your side of the planet?
Doing good. Today has been a really good day. I've been really productive. Got a lot done. So it's always great.
It's always a good feeling when we get a lot of stuff done. Just before we start with this topic, do you want to share with everyone a little bit about who you are and what you
Yeah. So my name is Tyson. Obviously,
do?
Tyson Michael, and my whole thing of what I do is I'm a motivational speaker. So I help people with their mindset. I help people grow, expand. The three pillars that I really focus around is confidence, mindset, and encouragement. So that's pretty much in every video, every piece of content work. I always try to be my best to help people the best way that I can. And so through me kind of knowing what my gift was since I was five, I've turned that into now being not only just like, a speaker, but also doing coaching and helping other people to discover their gift as well.
Yeah. And from the work that I've seen you put out, you are on a very fast track with
Thank
helping
you.
people in your area, and I think more broadly speaking, it's got a lot of wonderful potential to really reach the hearts and minds of people who want more confidence in their mind. Because I think it is deeply challenging for a lot of people sometimes to actually take action for themselves. So I think that what you're doing is really positive, and I think it definitely relates a lot to what we're going to talk about. So, before we talk about that, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ken. I am a relationship coach that specializes to help gay men, and I help them do that by deleting their dating apps and helping them to find open, honest, committed partners and boosting their self-esteem and their communication skills. So for today's topic, we wanted to talk about how coming out impacts our relationships. And just so everyone is on the same page, coming out as the process by which people recognize they're gay and start to actively approach their friends and family and have this acceptance within themselves and also within their social circle. So I suppose to start this off, Tyson, what would be your experience with this process of coming out, and what are your thoughts and feelings?
Well, it's different for different people. So everyone, it's just like kind of like in life, everybody has a different story, different background. For me, I actually ended up going to a Christian high school that I did not want to go to. And because of that, I realized as I got older, and when I was in particularly middle school, it's kind of like I had a crush on this guy that I did sports. So I did football, basketball, track, cheer, did football and basketball my whole life. And pretty much from middle school to about like 10th grade, I kind of had like a crush on the same person. I thought it was weird. I was like, what am I doing having a crush on another guy? It's kind of weird to me. So through that, I really learned about myself, and I learned about, okay, well, how is this like biblically? And then, you start going through all of that. And as I kind of got older, 15, 16, I started to talk to other people about it. And these were people who were coming into my school that were like bisexual, and there was a girl that had two dads that came to the school, and I was like, what in the world? So when I look back at my own story, for me, I had to just be honest with my dad. And once I was honest with him and I told him, of course, he had different views. I had to really check myself, because I always knew that I was awakening before my time. I was awakening in high school. I just didn't know what it was. There was a lot of things that were being said that I didn't agree with. And particularly with people who were gay and who were coming into the school, or who were just from different backgrounds and were being judged, being told certain things. People didn't feel welcomed at times. And so that's why when I came out to my dad, and he ended up telling my mom, it was very heartbreaking for me, because I wanted to be able to do it on my own timing. I don't believe that people should be coming out to whoever. I think they should do it at their own comfortability, if that's a word, or their own time. So my coming out story, I do have a YouTube channel, so I did post a video about my coming out story, which is one of the first videos that I have up on my channel, because I wanted people to understand, like, you can be your true self. You don't have to feel like you're alone, or you don't matter, or you're not allowed to be your true self. I think that you have to be open and and honest. And I think that coming out is a challenging thing, but you have to be someone who is able to be open and be real with yourself at some point.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. And I think one thing that I also heard from that too is, having an awakening to realizing that things weren't what they were told to be. And also coupling with that too, that heartbreaking realization that you have when everything was sort of forced and you didn't really have much control over when you got to do things in your own time. I know there is that phrase which can sound a bit woo-woo, which is all things in good time. But I truly do believe that when it comes to a process like coming out, because I think that there are a lot of good, well-meaning friends and family and even lovers sometimes, who want to help us get to that stage. But for some of them, who are not gay, they don't understand the mental hoops that we have to go through in order to accept ourselves, because society is inherently telling us that we are wrong and that we are not, quote unquote, good in some ways. Not always, but like for some people, it is a challenge for them because they grow up where they don't feel like they're part of a broader community. And then on top of that too, you've also got the pressure sometimes from people within the community who've had it have had kindness, support, and safety in their immediate circle. So it's not as difficult for them. And then when they're trying to help us out, they aren't really operating in the same reality as us. And so they don't really understand or appreciate
Yeah.
the fact that it's really difficult to get to that stage, and that it's something that not everyone is going to equally find easy as well. So I guess a question for you, Tyson, you have grown up in, a Christian school, you've had your awakening. To anyone who would be, say, like if you could say something back to younger Tyson, who was going through that, what would you tell him to comfort him through those earlier years as he was figuring things out?
That's a good question. I actually never have ever like asked that, like the younger version of me. Um, I probably would tell him that God loves him right where he is.
Hmm.
Because I think that for me, I beat myself up a lot because of what like a pastor was saying, or like because of what I used to, and I still am still like working on outgrowing the beliefs that are around me. But I think that I had to understand um, that my mindset and what I believe spirit or God or whatever you want to call it is talking to you, or your feelings. I think that I would, yeah, tell you like, you are loved right where you are. And I think a lot of people, especially black men that grow up in Christian homes because church, religion, Baptist, all of that type of stuff is kind of wheeled into the black culture. And I don't think that people think outside of the black culture. I think they just think, oh, okay, well, that's what mom and dad said, so it must be right. And I think that people forget to question. And going through that whole experience for 4 years, actually more than 4 years, but going through that experience, it really helped me because I knew that coming out for me meant opening up my eyes to, and I don't mean coming out as far as just like a sexuality, but coming out as far as a person who was wiser than his own time at that point in time and not knowing it. And so for me, I had to really come to the realization of I'm allowed to be my own self and outgrow what my dad or mom or whatever, however they think. Me and my mom have a much tighter bond. We always have had one, but I think that when it came to for me, it was I have to find a way to say what's on my mind and to not be told to be shut down because I got that too. I think what it really comes to is like you have to love yourself, but you also have to know that whatever higher being you believe in loves you as well. And you don't have to think that uh, you're a bad person because that's what this person said or that's what pastor talked about. Like you have to
Yeah.
learn to define your own relationship. And I've said this to people before. I've known my purpose since I was 5. I didn't need people to tell me what it was because it was already there. However, because of growing up, I was like, okay, well, my dad goes to church religiously. My mom had stopped. She doesn't go anymore. But I had to understand what is my own relationship with God and how do I see that from me. Because if I've known something since I was 5, why should I allow everyone else's opinions to tell me this is the route that you should go? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I completely agree with what you're saying, Tyson, too. Like, I think that it sounds to me like reminding ourselves that God loves us and that also to love ourselves. I mean, for those that maybe not be
Yeah.
spiritually inclined, to each their own,
Right.
I'd say I think that one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves is to just acknowledge the fact that we do deserve to be on this planet, because I think it's very easy to grow up in a school thinking that you are not enough because of your gender,
Yeah.
because of a whole bunch of things. And as a consequence, it really does lead into this whole, I was mentioning this in one of my stories yesterday, this whole example of like, oh, you cannot love another until you learn to love yourself, which I know for a lot of people might come across as a bit of a strange thing because it's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. Like,
Yeah, it does.
what do you mean? How, like, I'm sure there are plenty of people who love others without really loving themselves. And I think it also, and I think without going into like full analysis as to why we have that belief in the first place, I think it's especially true within our community because we, as gay men, really can grapple with who we are as we're growing up. And as a consequence, I think we have a lot of low self-esteem and also a lot of shame. So when you've got those things on our back, it does make it really challenging because we're growing up in a society which doesn't really make us feel very favored or loved. And that can put a lot of pressure on us to perform almost excessively in other ways. Like I know, for instance, growing up, I was always an A grade student. I worked my balls off, still do to this day. And I think that we do overcompensate because we feel like we need more love in our lives. Do you feel that's something that you resonate with?
Needing more love in my life.
Or even just working harder for affirmation and affection from, say, family and
Oh
friends?
yeah, I think with me, that goes back to my dad.
Mm.
I think that when I look at the type of person that he is, he's a great provider. Thank you for everything. However, I don't have a relationship with him. There is no, he can come here, we can go out to a game, we can, whatever, but you can take me out anywhere, travel me all over the place, but it doesn't mean that there's a actual, connection there. So, uh, needing love, I think it was more so of, um, I don't think he gave me that intimacy that I would have liked. And,
Mm.
then I think that when I was in my first relationship, then when I broke up with, that person, um, I think that me and him, once that was done, it was challenging for me going into a spiral of, like talking to different guys. And it wasn't because, I just, I was looking for like a specific thing. But I think for me, I am very deep in wanting connection. Like I love building with people. And I think that because I don't really pull that from my dad's like situation. Maybe I do. I just don't realize it. But I see it kind of differently. I see it more so as I think I'm just a human being who loves to connect with people genuinely. And because I love connecting with people genuinely, whether it's from my work or my business or whether it's from day-to-day interaction, I just love meeting new people. So, and I love helping new people. So when I look at like, you know, finding love, I more so look at it from the perspective of um, you got to know what you're bringing to the table. And I think in a sense, I may be, a little like, still growing through the pains of my dad. But in a sense, I've still understood that I'm valued, right where I am. And I just am
Mm.
learning to outgrow, those thoughts. Because again, sometimes we have people around us that are, feeding us things and we're not allowed to think for ourselves. And so
Yeah.
I think when people are looking for love or looking for a relationship, I think you have to look within. And I talk about that a lot. Like look within, and connect with people who are like-minded like yourself. Don't think that you have to always go move on to another man. That's not going to help you. You can
No.
move on to 16 new men. It's really not going to help you. So I try to give, friends, cousins, whoever, strangers, people that are Instagram friends, social media, just insight on like, you can live better, you can do better instead of trying to look for attention in something that is extremely temporary.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. And I think you're absolutely right too. Like, I think that it is very easy to get caught up, you know, as I've mentioned in previous chats, chasing chemistry, chasing, chasing what you think is connection. I think that a lot of us, particularly in romance, and this is where I think my relationship coaching, the side of me comes in, which is that, I think a lot of us, a lot of guys in particular, when they go on dating, they're looking for a click, a sign that, the person that they're with is compatible for them. They think that the chemistry is the key. Now, I think the challenge for a lot of men in these circumstances is that this comes from a place out of both loneliness, but also familiarity. And what I mean by that is I truly believe that loneliness is not like, oh, I don't have people around me. I think it's the absence of connection. And
Yeah.
I think that the second part of that is that a lot of men, they'll end up actually getting with other guys who are very similar in ways to their father. So, for example, for me, I know that I have a very emotionally disconnected relationship with my dad. He's technically, it feels like an abandonment for me. So I typically found myself attracted to men who were also what we call in therapy terms like avoidant, or people who are very uncomfortable with their emotions.
Oh yeah.
So it's interesting how that coupling of, background and also the search for connection is something that I think plays out for a lot of us. But as you were saying before too, it's not necessarily a healthy mix, because if we think about it from the perspective of, just our general health and well-being, you're absolutely right. To use your example, if we were to get with 16 other guys, it would probably be very unhealthy for us from a sexual health point of view, as well as not really taking in, the lessons that we learn about coming to love ourselves too. And I
Yeah.
think that even after a lot of guys do come out of the closet, there is actually a second wave of unpacking the shame and actually learning to go deep within. I think a lot of us spend far too much time trying to look for love outside of ourselves, try and have the most amazing body, try and have, the most amazing career, earn lots of money. But the problem is that it's unsustainable and often very
Right.
disappointing. And often
Yeah.
I feel like leads to even greater loneliness. What are your thoughts on that?
I think when it comes to people loving themselves, I mean, it all starts with inside of you. I know that once when you talked about the connection between why people end up, um, attracting the same people that are like emotionally, to them. And I can understand that because I think that I had that. I think I was dealing with a person that wasn't did well. First of all, was insecure in certain ways, and I was as well. But I think emotionally, when you realize you're not getting something, from your own parents, and the thing I think people tend to forget is that emotions, when you date someone and you guys are both going into something, everyone has an emotional baggage. It's not like you come in and you're completely healed from something. And I think people think that like, they're so emotionally well. And it's like, no, you're not, because everyone deals with something. Um, I think the loving yourself part is obviously crucial. I don't think people know what that means, though. I think loving yourself is, getting out a journal and journaling down some things that you've been struggling with privately. It may be you praying about things, because I don't believe in talking to everybody or talking to a lot of people, even if they're your best friends or whatever. Um, because most of the people that you vent to, they're going through their own problems, so they can only give you 2 or 3 sentences. So I think when it comes down to loving yourself, you gotta, one, do some exercise routines, or two, find a thing that you really love to do, part of your interest that you were doing beforehand, and now that maybe you got broken up with, or maybe you gone through a really bad, I don't know, abusive relationship or whatever it is, you can now turn the wheel and end up doing something different instead of staying stagnant and complaining or whining or feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough. Um, I think when it comes to discovering somebody or finding someone, you need to write it down. A lot of people want someone, but they don't write an actual real description, And it doesn't mean that you can't go on dates and go out, talk to people, flirt, whatever you do, but keep in mind what it is that you are actually looking for. And I would say don't even look for it. Just go about your day. Get up, go to work, whatever it is that you do, figure it out. But don't put yourself in a situation of relying on someone to make things better for you, or relying on someone to heal your coming out process, or rely on something. Like, it all goes back to you. And if you don't, I always say this, take responsibility of your own life, because no one is responsible for your healing, you can be the victim all day long. But what I've learned is a lot of people, they end up moving on with their life. And then, you're stuck there and you're like, well, what do I do? So your job is to take care of yourself. Your job is not to take care of you. Like, you are no one else's responsibility but your own. And I think a lot of people think that when they find someone new, or, whatever, we give all our time to this person. And it's like, no, that's not the way to do it. Like, I always say 95% of people are temporary in life. And the 5% that do come around and do stay, it's very rare outside of your family. So it's like, you have to just really analyze when you're coming out as a person, as a man, as a woman, whatever. I think it's about going within yourself, and get out and explore, but don't take stuff so serious. You have to take care of yourself at the end of the day. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. No, I completely agree with everything you said. I think that you're absolutely right. Far too often, I think that we think we need to be in a relationship in order to feel a sense of love, because ultimately we do want to feel good about ourselves. But we forget self-compassion. And I think even listening to you, like, as simple as exercising for ourselves, as simple as being in a situation of journaling. Like, I only started journaling at the beginning of this year. I used to think it was such a, pathetic idea. I was very cynical about it. I was very egotistical. I did not really appreciate why it would be of any benefit at all. My life has completely changed thanks to journaling, and it's because it's such a great brain dump. But without going into self-care techniques and tips, I think the thing that I would say is that we, as a community, I feel, do so much to impress one another. And also, I know from people that I've spoken to, there is a genuine fear of missing out, running out of time. They see all their friends who are, in relationships, and they think, oh, but I want that. It's like, well, that's great. But where are you at within yourself right now? Like, I know of a few guys who have been so hurt, so broken up by betrayal and also past experiences, that they carry that with them without taking any time or attention to do the self-work. And so they're sort of like the walking wounded. And I think that's a real sign too of them not having any sense of self-love or self-compassion as well. And I think also on the flip side, when we do see these couples, right? These couples where you've got a closeted man in a relationship and the partner wants them to come out, essentially. I feel like that partner who's more out is projecting even a bit of their own shame by trying to force the other person to come out. Like, they're adopting this sort of fixer role. They're like, oh, well, I will, my love will get them out there. It's like, that's not a healthy relationship. That's very dysfunctional.
Yeah. I think when it comes to a relationship, well, it's two things. The one thing I've noticed, I actually had a friend who recently, he's dating, someone, and the guy that he's dating, basically is like kind of like out, and he was just talking to me last week about, how he feels like, I understand it because I get it from like the Black, family thing. I understand. And he's like, oh, it's not that way. And, I'm like, he doesn't understand. I'm still at home right now. And I get that, I think people, number one, when it comes to a relationship, I think people love to praise the ideology of a relationship. And like, people say, I want something. And it's like, you don't want it. Because if you wanted it, it comes with a lot of work. It comes with a lot of time. It comes with a lot of conversation. And, you know, I know in the last situation that I was in, I got tired because I was like, you know, you're just giving up all the time, like deuces. I'm not about to deal with this. So,
Mhm.
um, so I just moved forward. But I feel like a lot of people, like I said, you know, they want it, and it's like, no, you don't want it. You just like the idea of it. When it comes down to any type of, you know, relationship or any type of anything, you know, you need to be very confident within yourself. And you mentioned something just a couple minutes ago. I can't remember what it was. Can you bring it back to my memory? What was the last
Can you
thing that
give
you
me
mentioned?
do you remember what it was about or like what I was saying prior to that?
I don't remember. I think it was something about, oh goodness, it was just in my head. Okay, you talked about the relationship. You said something. Looking, that's what it was. Looking for a relationship. I think that's what it was. I can't remember. But okay. So even when you talk about, like I said, looking for that, looking for a relationship, looking for a bond, um, yeah, you really just gotta be you gotta be confident in yourself. And I think most people, they misunderstand that it's about the journey, you know, it's about learning, you know, each other over time. um, but I think it
Yeah.
really is about sitting back with yourself first, you know, and having a service to provide when you meet that person, and having that person to provide a service to you. And I think that that's one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself. Like me personally, um, I love being, you know, single. I've enjoyed this period of time because I'm able to work on the things that, you know, I can give love to, which is my business and which is what I do now. Because I think that if you take your pain, I always tell you, you know, take your pain into your power, and your power becomes purposeful. And that helps other people to get in their mind, and to help the next person that's dealing with something. And I think that that is what we should be focusing on, helping the next person. um, and
Mm.
stop thinking that, like, oh my gosh, I want this so much and I want it so bad. And it's like, a lot of people want something so bad, and then when you get it, you have no clue how to manage it, you have no clue how to work with that person, because you didn't take time to study them. And a person, like I said, that I recently dated, did, you know, moved on and actually has someone else. And it was interesting because it's like, you know, I could tell that you're insecure. You know, I've known you for a year plus or whatever. And so, spent a lot of time with you. And so when I see people like that who do those things, it hurts me. But I think that people have to get out of the way of thinking that, you know, you have to move on quickly. And the second thing, now that I remember, the whole coming out thing and trying to force someone to do that, I think that, you have to give people their own time. You know, everyone has their own story and their own pace, and you can't just force people to do something because you think that they need to do it. And in that situation, I think if you're in a relationship where you feel like, uh, this person needs to do that, and they need to tell my family, and my family, you know, I need to meet your mom, and da, da, da. If you, that comes natural in a relationship. But if you want to, if you're saying that all the time, then 9 times out of 10, it's like, you know, that person probably will leave you, you know, if you keep putting too much pressure on them. Or it might be the fact that, you know, it's like multiple things. You're not respecting that person and their story. You're trying to move the relationship way far instead of supporting that person and trying to understand the journey. And I think most people, you just need to be honest. If it's bothering you, then leave. You know, like, if you feel more comfortable around someone that you can date that person, and you can take them to your house, and you and your family can celebrate for Christmas, and you can go to their house and celebrate with their family, if that's comfortable for you, then yes. But the truth is, um, for most people, that's not the thing. Whether whatever your color is and your background, you know, that's normally not the thing. So especially if you come from like religious homes, or you know, strict homes, or even if you're just really a conservative, like Republican or something like that, you know, those things can still be, uh, a problem. And I think that you have to, if you're going to be with someone, you should be and love, and go through the process with them. you know? And I think that people want things so fast. And that's the bad thing about all these Twitter, conversations, or these Instagram posts, or all these people traveling and doing different things, these couples doing different stuff. It then portrays this, thing in the mind that, oh, you need to be acting like this, or this person needs to be doing it like this and that. And I think people forget the substance of what a relationship is, and then they just lose it. I think some people just forget and they don't look within, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I think for a lot of people, there was a lot of great things you said. I think a lot of people are too busy trying to replicate what they think is a good looking relationship. And I think particularly within our community too, being a gay couple is sort of like, vogue, because marriage equality has gone worldwide in most countries. And
Yeah,
so that image is so rich for a lot of people. And they think, oh my God, this is so cool. It's like, it's, the new thing. But I think as a consequence, it's become a bit of a commodity and
yeah,
nice to have without really doing any of the why do we want
the work.
this? Like,
Yeah,
what is the reason as to why I need a relationship? And I say need specifically because I think from all the work that I have done, for instance, I would say I know within me that I need a relationship in order to feel a higher sense of happiness. Does that mean that I'm not happy within myself right now? No, I'm very happy. I'm very comfortable being on my own. I've been single for quite a while and I love it. And I think that the challenge for a lot of, people is that the idea of being single is just so terrifying for them. And I think within a community like our own, where we have challenging upbringing, challenging families that we might have come through, when what
yeah,
you were saying, with Christian background, in conservative parts of the states, if that's, where someone is from,
yeah,
the desire to get with someone is heightened because they think, oh, well, this is what this is what I need right now. I read on average, when I'm doing my usual engagement with people, about 1 in 2 people will say every day, I am lonely and I just crave a boyfriend.
yeah,
And for the guys that say that, it comes from an honest place in their heart. And I do feel a bit sorry for them. I'm like, but is what you feel loneliness in the sense of like, I need a partner, or loneliness in the sense of I don't have people around me who are just listening to what I'm going through and can
yeah,
sit with my emotions? And I think that inherently is the problem, is that people don't know how to recognize what they're feeling. They keep thinking that society has the answers to this by being like, you just need to be in a relationship. You need to like
yeah,
live out your urges. But the problem, as you were mentioning before, is that a relationship is work. The
yeah,
before and the after does not portray the middle ground of what it's like to actually be in one of those situations too. And, part of my role of helping people is identifying, obviously, partners who are not good for them. And I often say, you got to be mindful of people who are not consistent, blah. But at the end of the day, even if the takeoff is going well with a partner, you're
yeah,
still going to have moments where you're fighting with one another, you're having challenging discussions with one another. And I think too many of us are not equipped to deal with that because we've come from families where they have been volatile. I've worked with clients who've had explosive, abusive families. And the thought of coming into contact with another guy where they present themselves as needy, it might be something as small as, their partner just saying, I just want to spend more time with you. But they shell up and go, oh, no, 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 I don't want to do that. And so, circling back to your point about self-love, I think a lot of these men have not focused enough on what they didn't get in their
yeah,
childhood. And they think that coming out is sort of like a band-aid solution because they're now with the rest of the community. But what they're really joining at times is more of the same. More people who haven't actually sat with themselves and learned to really go through the motions.
yeah. I think a lot of, and I can relate to what you were talking about, and I think it was really profound and just good information. Um, I've come across that in my own experiences where, I'll give examples, but like I said, in my first relationship, I realized that this individual came from a totally different life than me, different home life than me. And as I went through the experience, I realized that, yeah, this person, not a bad guy, I mean, probably well, I wouldn't say the best relationship, but I had a lot of fun, but I understood that from that standpoint, it was a challenge for me to continue that because it was just so toxic. And I don't believe that we were bad for one another. I think that we were young and we didn't understand what that stuff meant. And I think for me, even though I didn't know it at the time, my mind was a lot wiser in thinking. And I think sometimes we want something, and when we meet this person, we're like, yay, we're having a good time. And then we totally forget, okay, well, why are you actually here? And what I realized was both of those, the two situations, I realized that it was really just like a fantasy thing. You just wanted to have some trips, you want to take some pictures, you wanted to go out. You didn't want nothing serious, And I think it comes from, yeah, when people, well, or I would say, when men, when they come out, they're just like, ooh, yes, I'm out of here. I'm out. I can be free. I can now go and they download Tinder and just talk to whoever it is they can find. They go through Instagram, they DM whoever they can find, and they become almost like this, excessive, whore maybe. I don't know. They become someone that feels free, and they forget about those guards. So, and it comes down to what type of clothes are you wearing? Because before you speak, people are going to look at your outfit. When you open up your mouth, what is coming out of your mouth? What are you saying? How are you presenting yourself? Because the way that you present yourself, especially how you talk, is going to determine later on, how those relationships go. And I think instead of saying, oh, my mom doesn't talk to me, or my dad's not in my life, or yada yada yada, let's get deeper into why did that happen? What actually happened? And one of the things that I realized was I have a friend of mine that I actually had just became friends with him, but he started telling me about his story of, his mom being on drugs and his dad being in prison, and, him actually being, having to sign himself up for high school and all these different things on his own. And then I'm able to share my story of little things that happened to me, right? Not to that extreme, but, things that happen. And I think that's how you build when you're talking to someone, or when that's a friend example, but when you're in a relationship, when you really like someone, you're getting to know them, you need to start to understand the deep parts of what their pains are. Because some people, a lot of times when you come to the table with someone, it's like a show, like you said. Most people think that I got to dress good. I got to tell them that I go to college, or I got to tell them that I'm majoring in this, or, I got to tell them I make this much money, or this is what, maybe not money, but this is what I do. This is my position. So it sounds fancy. If I have my business, I have to say I'm running a $3.6 million, whatever, so people, I think they go more so on impression instead of let's build real intimacy. And I think that what I realized was through those experiences, I'm an intimacy type of man. And preferably, I prefer you to be in your purpose. If you just found out what it was, then that's great. And if that's, working at a job as you're a counselor and that's what brings you joy, or, you work in the jail and, you like helping inmates, that's great. Or if you are someone who works in corporate America and you like doing that stuff, that's awesome. Or if you're just running your own healthcare business, that's great too. You have to just know that when you're looking for someone, or you're designing to have a specific person, you need to find that person and go through trial after trial after trial, until you can, see someone who's really being honest and authentic. And the last thing that I probably would say is you, at the end of the day, you got to stop thinking that you need someone. A lot of people go through loneliness because it's like, oh my gosh, like I feel alone. I need someone. It's like you don't really need to cuddle with anybody. You don't need to go with anyone. What you need is just someone to talk to. And I think a lot of people think that. They think they need this thing. And this is why I feel bad for some people, because I watch them go through relationships. I watch people who are couples who have broken up, shade the hell out of each other on Twitter, and then get right back together again, and then do the same thing over and over and over again, instead of saying, you know what, enough is enough, can't deal with this, I need to step back for a minute, and taking some months to yourself. And sometimes in those situations, you may find someone that you're like, oh, I really love them. No, the truth is that you might have cared for them more than they cared for you. And you have to look back at, who am I as a person? So when my ex broke up with me, and I was like, oh, I didn't know what to do, he forewarned me, but it was more so of, it wasn't that I was a bad person. I was doing something wrong. I was young at that time, and I was very ignorant as far as how you treat people, because I was like 18, 19. But I realized that it was something that was familiar to him. And because that relationship, because that toxicity, because that going back and forth, because the name calling was specific to him, for me, it was like, oh, I didn't see it as a big deal. We can just get back together and just make things like, come on. But for him, it was triggers. And so because of that, I had to understand, no, he was a great person. His perception was he meant good things. It's just that people who are still growing their mind, your mind doesn't grow as fast as someone else's sometimes. And that other person, there's someone that's higher than me that grows at a higher place. What I'm focused on now is taking care of myself, but most importantly, knowing that the person that I desire is someone who is on a higher level, and even if we're at the same level, you can still teach me something, and you want to actually get to know the root of who I am. None of this, we're going on some dates and we're doing some, nice pictures and, stuff. I want you to show action that, hey, you're here for, good couple years. If I turned off my phone, or, if I decided, we're not going to talk for 2 months, I need you to be saying something to show, putting in that work. And so I think people, they focus so much on you need to have this. You don't. I think about it like this. Imagine wasting 6 months, 7 months of your life with one person, and how much could you have got done in that time? Like from March to now, I have gotten so much more done in my personal life, in my business life. I've been reading books, which I never did when I was younger. I've met more people on Instagram, because I used to complain about my social media being dry and never getting to connect with people. I talk to either the same people or new people every day. And it's because I put in the groundwork from the time that I basically got broken up with all the way to now. And, I have moments, I still have company in my house, but I am very aware of the lines that I draw, and I have boundaries. And I don't think that this is a message of delete every person, delete everything, and don't talk to anyone. It's just a message about having boundaries in your life and understanding that you don't have to cut people off, but you have to know, oh, hell no, I'm not dealing with that. No, like you got to go. You got to respect me and respect my time, respect who I am. And I think that get out of wanting so much, get into you, because the truth is like a year from now, you could be dating this person, but man, the next person that I would needs to be telling me how much videos did you put up this week? How many did you create that thing that you were talking to me about? And if you didn't, give me your phone. Like, you need to have someone in your life that, if you're going to really be serious with dating, it really has to be someone who is pushing you to be better. And some people, what I've realized is, when I was dating the people I was dating, they just thought it was cute that I was doing it. They didn't give a shit about none of the stuff that I had, none of the dreams, none of the goals. They didn't care about the longevity of the relationship. They just wanted the present now. And for me, whether you're dating someone that's younger than you or older than you, it's really about their mindset. And you could be 19 thinking like a 35-year-old. You can be 22 thinking like a 45-year-old. You can be, 16 I mean, not 16, but like, 28, thinking like you're 15 years old still in high school. So
Mm.
again, it all comes back to self-reflection. You got to love yourself more, and you got to know deep down, what do I truly want out of a partner? And like you said, you talked about happiness. And I know for me, I wouldn't really say it's happiness, but it's intimacy, because I want to grow. I want to have longevity. Um, that's my goal. My goal is longevity. My goal is to build some type of, I know it's cliche to say empire, but it's to build something that we can look back through, old Instagrams or old whatever, and oh ha ha, laugh and have a journey of, you built this for yourself, I built that for myself, we actually built this project together, and have something to tell. And I think that right now people don't look at it like that. They look at it as like, oh, okay, well, let me just have you. We can have go out on dates, go on some trips, have nice sex or whatever it is, and then we're done because you did something I didn't like, and so now I got to block you on Instagram, and now I got to shade you on whatever. And I think that people are going to lose themselves, and my fear for not only just people in the gay community, but my fear just for watching specifically, like I said, like just young black gay guys, because I'm very passionate about that. When I look at that, to me, it's sad, because it's like, you're going to wake up in a couple of months or a couple of years from now and be like, damn, why didn't I do what I should have done when I was 20 something? You only get this age and stage once. So it's like, why waste it? Imagine if I would have been, still fighting for the person that I was dealing with. Number one, I would have been trained, and number two, most people just don't care that much. And I wouldn't say most people, but I would say the way that some men are systemized today, I just don't think that they have that. They want it fast and now. And I think that is what has been making people suffer, making relationships suffer, is you want it fast. If you took some months to really grow yourself, figure out who you are, um, you know, build up your business, build up your friendships, build up your connections, talk to new people, or hell, just get up every day and read a book and exercise and take care of yourself. If you do something that helps you, you attract amazing things into your life. And what I realized, and I know I talked a lot, so what I really realized was when I realized that I was giving so much of my time and energy to one person, and how I can be impacting not one person, but I can be impacting 27, 70 different people who comment on my post, who, repost my stuff. Um, that is way more than trying to pull yourself through the ground, trying to get someone to to appease you. And I think people look at, whether it's the whole OnlyFans thing now that's going on, and people are just having random sex and recording themselves. People are finding different ways to try to fake that they can have intimacy and have love. And I think emotionally, it's going to damage some people in a couple years. Some people are gonna lean on men too much. Some people are gonna kill themselves. Some people they're gonna, and it's because it's just people aren't right in the mind. And that's why I think my job is to be, I call myself a visionary coach, because I believe that people have to have a vision for their life. And I think as a mindset, and as a visionary, as a confident, as an encouragement, type of guy, I want people, every person that I come on live with, every person that comes on here and hops off, every person that um, I meet in real life and have, maybe even just a 10-minute or hopefully an hour conversation or whatever. I want them to be able to take away that, number one, you're loved as you are,
Mm.
but you have really a lot of things in you that you don't need from someone else. And you actually attract more, you attract better when you take time to actually deal with you. And I think that my job is to make sure that every person who meets me says, okay, as a man, this is how I'm supposed to be treated. So even some of the guys that I've dated, and when I say date, that means that I'm not, you know, in a full committed relationship. But there's some guys that I've, you know, flirted with, talked to, whatever. My mission is to show them the next person that you deal with, you need to remember, hey, oh wait, that little short guy that I, you know, used to talk to, or oh, that guy that makes videos, like, oh, I remember he told me this, right? And so that's my goal, because I think that if people don't have an example, or if guys don't have examples, I should say, but if the young gay guys don't have examples, they're gonna fall into anything. And that's why a lot of gay guys, you see them go from doing really well in college to now they're on Twitter making porn. I mean, that's just the truth, you know, not to be, you know, disturbing or too much warning sign. That's the truth, you know, because they come out and they're taking cute pictures, and you know, they get this attention from these creeps through different hashtags, and you know, then they think, okay, well, this must be what it's like to be in a relationship, you know, they must care if they're willing to give their body to me. And it's like, no, like, a lot of them just need to handle their business, and they want to just handle their business and leave, and they don't care about you. And so yeah, it just, it makes me sad, you know, it does. But some people will
Yeah.
listen and some people won't. Some people will change their life and some people won't. And so, you know, my thing is that I just think a lot of, I hope not, but I see a lot of gay men kind of, if it continues, it's going to be one of those things that I think it's going to be like, oh, I wish I would have listened to whoever told them something at a specific point in their life, you know? So,
Yeah. I agree with everything you've said, Tyson. I think, just to sort of summarize, because I know we're running short on time, is to just say,
mouthful.
no, it was a real good banger, because it definitely expressed a lot of really good points. And I think to sort of try and summarize what you've said is that I think that we obviously started this conversation talking about how coming out impacts relationships, but I think from what I'm hearing you say as well is that that's not enough for gay men. Like, I think that for a lot of gay men, they might think that that's their rite of passage into adulthood, if you will. But in actuality, there's still a lot of inner mental work that needs to be done too. As you were
Yeah,
saying before, you can be 28 with the brain of a 15-year-old. And I think that is certainly true within our community too. And I want to make it very clear, I'm not being disparaging to our community. I actually say that from a place of compassion, which is to say that I think we owe ourselves so much work
oh
and
yeah,
also role models to help guide us to a happier and healthier place. And that's where I think, you know, people such as yourself are so valuable, because even as you were saying, like on those dates, you know, leaving behind evidence of good ideas that might eventually sink into these people's minds and go, damn, Tyson actually had something really meaningful to say that impacted
yeah.
my life, that was really beneficial. Anyways, I would love to keep going, but unfortunately, Instagram will cut us off in like a minute. So,
Okay.
Tyson, thank you so much for joining. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and the work that you do?
Yeah, so you can either go to my Instagram, you can click the link in my bio. I have my website in there, my YouTube is in there, as well as I do coaching. So I do one-on-one coaching for anyone who needs to just, who wants to find their purpose or find their gift or discover all those things. But most of my content for right now is on YouTube and is on Instagram. My YouTube is Owning Purpose, and my Instagram is Tyson Michael with 1_. And I also have, again, my website in my Instagram bio with my little link tree with all my sources. So I do have other things coming out. I do have a free ebook coming next month. Not sure with the date yet, but it will drop when it drops next month. And that's going to really help individuals who need to find their gift, or who are just unsure about, like, what am I here to do? It kind of gives you a breakdown, and I talk about a method in there that will really, really help someone who is struggling to. Ooh, I think I paused for a minute, but hopefully all that information got in there, because my phone, I think, is about to die. But yeah,
No, that's all good. Tyson, thank you so much. I know that the work you're doing, the ebook that's coming out, and everything that you're doing is just so impactful and meaningful and really, really powerful for not just the gay community, but your community that you're
yeah,
growing as well.
yeah,
So look, thank you so much for hopping on here. I'll let you go. Have an amazing rest of your evening, and definitely excited to keep chatting with you down the road. Thank you so
yeah,
much, Tyson.
yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you.